Jenny, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited about our conversation today. You are a medium and a tarot reader, and there's so much to talk about. Um,
There is.
but I guess for our listeners who maybe have never had a reading or aren't familiar with what you do, or maybe are like, oh, I don't believe in that. How do you describe it for people, what you do and what resources you provide?
First of all, I sympathize with people who don't believe in it and who kind of are skeptical because if you would have asked me if this is what I would have been doing for a living, I would have said, no way. You're insane to ever think I would be some kind of medium or tarot reader. This was not my profession in the past, not my professional career, nothing that I saw myself doing ever. So I get it when people say things like that. What I do specifically, my way of tarot reading and the things that the information I provide is more to give clarity to whoever I'm talking to about a current situation in their life or why they feel stuck. That's usually what I focus on. I can communicate with the dead, I
Hmm.
guess you can say, but I prefer more like self-help
Hmm.
type of messages and helping people right now. The mediumship is really cool actually, but I don't get a lot of that. I don't get a lot of customers wanting that, a lot of
Interesting.
people wanting that. Yeah.
Interesting. And how did you come to this? As someone who sort of maybe was in that I don't believe or I don't, do that category, how did you get into this?
It all started one dreary night. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, when I was 7 years old, my mom and my cousin were playing with their tarot cards and giving each other readings. And I remember going to where they were, and my mom was giving a reading to my cousin. And I said, no, that's not what that says at all. No, it says this, and it says this, and it says this. And my cousin kind of sat me down and said, oh, you think you know so much? Here you go. You give me the reading then, since you know so much. And I told her a bunch of things. And within the next 9 months to a year, all those things happened. And they forgot that I had said any of it. Then my mom reminded my cousin, didn't Jenny tell you all this was going to happen? And right away, oh my gosh, she did. I want another reading. And so I gave her another reading. Some of those things happened. And then I experienced sleep paralysis.
Mm.
And as a child, have you ever experienced sleep
No.
paralysis? It's when you're asleep, but it's more like you're in a paralyzed state of fear and you feel like a entity or something standing over you and you can't really do anything. It's like a nightmare.
Oh.
It's like a nightmare. And I experienced that 2 nights in a row where there was someone or some energy like standing over me in bed and I couldn't move, I couldn't scream, I couldn't wake up. And then I told my mom what I had experienced and my grandmother overheard.
Hmm.
I was raised by my mom and my grandma.
Hmm.
And my grandmother is religious.
Hmm.
And she was like in Spanish, kind of yelling at my mom, you see, that's what she gets. She was touching those tarot cards. You're not supposed to let her touch those tarot cards. You shouldn't be letting her do that because
Hmm.
that's why she's experiencing those things. And so I never saw tarot cards again.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get into it until 30 years later. So I was 7 at that time, and then I'm 37. And at 37, um, I was a flight attendant at that time for Southwest Airlines. I had a 16-year career there, and I did other things in the airline as well. But I never saw myself doing this. I I was dating someone who had kind of shifted me back to tarot
Hmm.
in a way.
Hmm.
And the conversation with him was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm into tarot readings. And I said, oh, I remember I did that once or twice as a kid, and everything I said came out, and then I never entertained it again. And then he goes, oh really, so you think you know how to do tarot? Well, give me a reading. And I'm like, I don't have any cards.
Yeah.
I don't have tarot cards to give you a reading, literally don't. And then he challenged me with a regular playing deck.
Uh-huh.
And he said, if your gift is real, give me a tarot reading with these regular playing cards and see what you get. And I'm like, all right, I can try. I had absolutely no confidence in myself, but I shuffled the deck and I laid them out, and I'm like, I sat there for maybe 5 minutes. I'm like, I have no idea. Then I took a deep breath and I closed my eyes and I tried to clear my mind, and poof, I
Hmm.
saw what I saw, and I mentioned it, and it freaked him out. It scared the daylights out of him. He stood up, pale faced at what I said, and I was like, I guess I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
He said, I never want you to read my cards again. And I said, I'm on my way to the store to pick up 2 decks right now. And that's where it started. At 37 years old, I started to kind of get into it again, practicing on my overnights
Hmm.
when I was flying out, and on my friends and on my family, on a few people in my family, since most of them are still very tied up to religion and stuff.
Hmm.
It's kind
Hmm.
of seen as bad.
Yeah.
So that's where it began. I didn't really see myself doing this at all until then.
So thank you for sharing that. And so many questions from that. So when you go into that space, are you connecting with something, or how does that work? Is it like a meditative
It is.
mindset or
It's like a meditative state where I have to shut off my mind. I
Mhm.
have to get rid of anything that I'm thinking about for the day, any of my stresses, any of my, I don't know, I got to go to the gym, I got to go to work, I got to do groceries. All those kind of things have to be shut off for me to just be clear headed
Mhm.
and feel and I can't say think. A lot of times I will get visions in my
Mhm.
head, or words or things of that nature that are not mine.
Mm.
And that's when I can tell that I'm like channeling or I'm picking up on someone else.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hmm.
And then so how does it work? And I've always been curious about this. Like, I guess what are your thoughts on fate and I guess also death? I was raised Catholic and raised in this, idea of free will, right? Like, and you choose your own fate, which you do, right? But at the same time, I think, what I've experienced with tarot and with intuitives is same with, the person that challenged you with those cards. It's like, how did you know that? Like, it wasn't just things in the past, which you can tell and are like, whoa, how did you know that? But then when things actually happen, and sometimes it's months later, weeks later, what are your thoughts on that? With like, how does time work in terms of what you do?
Time in that realm is it's very hard to predict time, that's for sure. A
Hmm.
lot of people, when they do want readings and things, they want to know how long is this going to take and how long is that going to take? When is this going to manifest for me? And a lot of times it's not about time. It's about certain challenges and things you have to experience before the next chapter of your life begins.
Hmm.
For example, at what age will I get married?
Hmm.
And it's like, well, do you mean you want to get married to the right person, or do you want to have a few failed marriages? What are
Right.
we talking about here? Because if you want to be with your fated person, there's things that you have to go through in life that teach you a lot of lessons so you can appreciate that relationship when it comes in. So it really depends
Hmm.
on the person. Um, hmm, More on the fate. I believe everything is pretty much free will, and a lot of people believe that fated events are actually a products of our subconscious
Hmm.
and what it is that we manifest for ourselves unintentionally. Unintentionally is the big thing.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of times, and this is what I've learned on my own journey, because this has been a very big growth journey for me. I was, I'm married twice, divorced twice,
Hmm.
and my dating experience since my divorces have all been pretty crappy.
Hmm.
And part of that type of energy is, well, you get out what you put in. So, being a person looking for love and looking to give my best version of myself, and maybe I shouldn't play these little stupid games anymore, or do this or do that. And I've learned through these experiences, and finally giving yourself the chance to be in a relationship, and then that doesn't work out.
Hmm.
And then you try another one and that doesn't work out, and you fall into this pattern. And I feel like a lot of people can relate when they're like, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I keep on running into the same situation? And it's all about like vibration and how you vibrate.
Mm-hmm.
And by vibration, I mean what you're attracting. I started to go into a journey of learning about myself aside of spirituality. I was listening to another podcast
Mm-hmm.
called, what was the name of that podcast? Personality Hacker Podcast,
Mm.
where they center things around the Myers-Briggs personality system and how your cognitive functions work.
Mm-hmm.
And you get spit out these 4 letters that kind of show you how it is that your brain works and makes decisions. And I was learning about myself through that, and it was so accurate. It was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
I was listening to that and I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I do things like this. Oh, I really do. I do things like this. Ugh. And then they had another podcaster on their show and they focused on the Enneagram. And then I went into that and I started learning about the Enneagram and my personality style through there. And then the Enneagram gives you more of your traumas, your childhood traumas that can contribute to that.
Mm-hmm.
And listening to that opened my eyes to a lot of my own behaviors and why I was attracting what I was attracting.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't put those things together until I heard it coming from a podcast, from an audio book, from a YouTube channel, because I couldn't see it.
Right.
I couldn't see those areas in my life. So I see that in a lot of the people that I read. A lot of the people that I read will be stuck in these relationships, whether it be with romantic relationships or family dynamic or anything like that, and they can't figure out why they're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is the things that we've experienced as children, and we don't see it because we don't remember.
Yeah.
We don't remember a lot of the things that we've been taught, and that was a big thing for me. So I try to focus on that also. I even forgot the question, girl. I'm so sorry.
No, it's
I'm
okay. That's
rambling.
so interesting. No, it's so interesting because I think, we were talking about fate, and I think it's interesting that, like, yes, we do have free will, but
Hmm.
oftentimes we can't see how we get in our own ways. And,
Yes,
I think what's so fascinating about this to me is when you go to someone who's talented, who's a complete stranger and can see it, and I don't know. I just think that's really interesting. I like the approach that you take of like, this is less about, this is fated to you. This is more about patterns and what you're seeing and how you can help that
absolutely.
person navigate it. And then the other part of the question is with, with death and mediumship, how does that work? Again, I I don't know that I believe this now, but this idea of like heaven and angels and like, or you're somewhere else, right? And so, I'm just curious how you see it and how you work with those who have passed on.
I was raised Christian,
Hmm.
so I was raised where, you do good, you go to heaven,
Yeah.
you do bad, you go to hell, you're
Yeah.
punished for eternity. And that never made sense to me.
Yeah.
It just never clicked for me because I've known people who have passed who haven't been saints,
Hmm.
but they haven't been bad people either. So it was always an area of, well, where did they go?
Hmm.
What happened to them? And it was more like fear. Oh man, if I do this, if I
Yeah.
do that, I'm not going to get accepted. But I have intrusive thoughts. So, and thoughts, God knows my thoughts. So
Right.
where do I lay in that? Where do I lie in that, future thing? What I've realized through my mediumship, especially when I have the spirits from the other side that come through, nobody's burning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody is in any grieving, agony, pain on the other side telling me, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain and I'm burning and this and that. And I've actually given readings to people who are like, well, they weren't a very great person. So I'm so glad to hear that they're not in a bad place. And
Yeah.
what I've realized from spirits that I've communicated with is that we just continue to learn and grow in another dimension.
Interesting. Yeah.
It really does continue on. Our energy continues on, but in learning and growing, and we reunite with people on the other or other spirits on the other side that kind of like a reunion type of energy is what I've always gotten from that.
Hmm.
I've
Interesting.
never had anyone tell me I'm burning over here, warn them, anything like that
Yeah.
ever.
That's really interesting. And then
Hmm.
same thing, like definitely raised in an environment where like, oh, that's don't do that. It's similar to your grandma of like, that's why this happened. Like, don't
Yeah,
mess around with voodoo or Santeria or like any of this stuff, right? Like there will be spirits, like evil spirits or like, things like that. But I do believe in protection, right? Like from energy and things
absolutely.
like that. So can you talk about like how do you protect yourself with this? I mean, I feel like it must feel intense, but also like how do you keep yourself grounded and protected?
Believe it or not, the biggest way of protection is not having any fear.
Mm-hmm.
Going into things not having any fear, because just like you have good and bad people in your
Hmm.
waking life, you have higher vibration entities and lower vibration entities.
Yeah.
There are some entities there that are meant to keep us stuck, that are meant to give fear to us, and then there's some that are not. So
Hmm.
it's all about not being in fear. So
Hmm.
lower vibrational entities, they feed off of that, and they see that you're scared, they're getting a reaction from you, they stick around.
Mm.
It's about being very powerful and saying you got to get out of here, and meaning it without the
Hmm.
fear.
Yeah.
um, People with their rituals of smudging, and that's all very helpful too, but that's more for us
Yeah.
than it is for them.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. That is interesting. I'm curious what you think people often get wrong about or approach in a way that maybe you wouldn't with tarot. And like one of the things that I think about a lot is like I feel like you must get a ton of people asking about relationships, right? Like, oh, are they going to come back? Is this the person I'm going to marry or, whatever. But it also feels like maybe we should be asking other things. So like what do you think
Yeah.
we get wrong or misunderstand?
Well, a lot of times in those situations when people want to know if their past person's going to come back and stuff, that is, and I'm speaking from a place of being healed. And I say
Mhm.
healed and not cured, because
Yeah.
I have my own childhood traumas and I have my own things that I've went through. So in being on the other side of that stuff, healed, I can give better advice than I did as a reader before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
an unhealed reader will give you unhealed advice,
Hmm.
is what I've learned.
Hmm.
So I'm very particular about who I go to for my own readings, and I can't really read myself. I'm very biased. I mean,
Hmm.
I can in certain situations, but not really.
Yeah.
And so an unhealed reader will give you unhealed advice.
Yeah.
My advice back in the day, before I knew about what healing was or my own patterns or my own traumas, I couldn't see your patterns and I
Mm.
couldn't see your traumas. So I would probably tell you, yeah, just wait for him. He'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah.
And then maybe then you guys can actually try something, because there is love here.
Hmm.
I see your emotions. So he might open up.
Yeah.
That would be my unhealed trauma giving you that advice. My
Right.
own, because I need to be also someone that has good advice to give.
Sure.
As my healed self, I can see patterns. So I really want to ask the person in front of me is, why do you want someone back who has abandoned you?
Hmm.
A lot of times it's um I wish, and I can't always turn the tables on the person to have some accountability for themselves also, but I wish I
Hmm.
could
Yeah.
in more situations and say, hold on, what part of this screams to you love of your life
Right.
when they're gone and they
Right.
keep leaving, or they keep on cheating on you, or this is not the person that you think is going to change. I think it's time for you to change.
Right.
Is really what I want to say. So I feel like my experience has helped me give more clear advice to people
Hmm.
if they're willing to hear it. A
Yeah.
lot of times people aren't willing to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want to hear that he's coming back
Yeah.
and he's going to be changed and he's going to love the F out of me.
Well, and I
Only
think
me, okay?
that's what we all want to hear, right? But like,
Yeah,
you
we all
know,
want to hear it.
they're changing, they're doing, whatever it is. But, I also think it's interesting, like, why don't people ask more, and maybe they are, about like, well, what should I be doing with my career? Or is this a good time for me to go travel? Or am I, like that kind of stuff. Like, what are some things you must hear really interesting conversations, by the way. You must have like all the tea, but like, what do you wish people, not wish people, what could you suggest to someone who's thinking about going to a reader or who has in the past, but like doesn't exactly know what to ask. Like, what should they be thinking about beyond just like, oh, is, Boo Boo coming back to me? Like, what else should they sort of like be considering in their life that tarot can really help with?
I think it's I think you should have some reflection before going to a tarot reader to know what it is that you really want to know, and have a open mind to that information.
Hmm.
Have an open mind to that information. Now, if you want to know about a person who has been showing you a pattern,
Hmm.
maybe it's time you acknowledge that pattern,
Hmm.
and a tarot reader does not have to point out that pattern for you. I believe tarot is more like for guidance, to be
Hmm.
honest with you. It should be used for guidance and things that you just mentioned,
Yeah.
like what career path should I be, what about this choice? I have a choice of two jobs and I don't know
Hmm.
which one is going to be best for me. Or is my child going to be safe going to this school, across the country? Things
Right.
like that, I think that we really are confused about and that we really don't know what
Yeah.
the outcome is going to be. I think that's a good way to get some guidance, because warning messages do come through. Warning messages come through. Be careful with fraud. Be careful with loss of money. You might meet someone, and these are their characteristics. This is
Hmm.
what to look out for. I feel like tarot is more of that type of communication. Definitely good for love too, especially if you're confused in a situation, because not everyone that is going for a love reading is totally blind.
Right.
Or if you are totally blind, because there are a lot of manipulators out there, it's good to gain
Sure.
insight, but at the same time, believe the insight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, believe the insight. And if it takes more than one reader to get that insight, it
Yeah.
might take more than one reader.
And that actually brings up a really good point. Like, what should people look for in a reader that they can trust? Because I think there's really talented people like yourself, and then I think there's people who maybe you should stay away from, who are trying to like sell you something or whatever. Like, what should people kind of look for?
When you get a tarot reading, if people are pushing towards, you have a spell on you and I know how to break it and I could break it for this amount of money,
Hmm.
I think that's a red flag. Do
Hmm.
I believe in witchcraft and spells? Absolutely. Are
Hmm.
they out there affecting people? The reason that I believe in that is because just like you have manipulation here in the wake, you get manipulated by your neighbor, you get manipulated by your coworker. There's also energy manipulation. So I
Hmm.
believe in that. But if a tarot reader is the one telling you that that's what it is and trying to cure you at the same time, I think that's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
I can sense when there's that type of manipulation, but there's not much I can do. I know that
Hmm.
I have a few things that I offer that are not pricey,
Hmm.
but if I'm shooting at you with these price tags that are
Yeah.
ridiculous and you're never going to get a physical item and you're never going to see anything from it, that's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Huge red flag, especially if yeah, that's one of the biggest red flags for me. And also, it's very important to go with someone that you feel connected to. So
Hmm.
if you're on TikTok or if you're on YouTube and you're watching readers and what they say really connects to you intuitively, you should go ahead and give it a try.
Hmm.
But make sure that that doesn't mean it's just what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Are they telling you what you want to hear and that's why you want a reading from them? And then when you get the reading, they don't tell you what you want to hear?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You have to believe that part of it too. It's not always just what you want to hear when trying to find the right tarot reader or the right psychic medium. It has to
Yeah.
be someone you feel connected to.
It's funny because you mentioned, people are manipulators and they can manipulate energy and individual people and things like that. But how often do we do it to ourselves, right? It's like,
Absolutely. I could have a deck of cards in my hand and I'm still out here like, what? This just happened to me. Oh my
yeah,
gosh. And my ego gets so bruised sometimes. And I'm human. I'm not
yeah.
superhuman because I have cards in my hand. I'm human just like the rest of us. So even making mistakes on this side, it's all about accountability.
Hmm.
It's all about accountability and where you let certain information get to you.
Yeah.
Um, in that past relationship I was with, I remember getting a reading on that and being told that not only was it not the one, but it was really manipulating and this person didn't care about me. And I didn't believe any of it.
Hmm.
I didn't believe any of it for later on it to come out very true. And then me having that realization that my ego was the reason why I couldn't see that, because I had told myself something and I didn't want to see myself disappointed.
Yeah.
So we also have to be willing to accept things that we don't want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And I think that's, and I know we've talked about this previously, but like I think that's where therapy can be great, or some sort of like what you were doing of like that internal journey of like, why don't I want to hear this? And why do I keep doing XYZ, whether in any relationship, right? Like life is full of relationships, whether it's love or
Hmm.
otherwise. When have you, or let me ask it this way. Is there a difference between being an intuitive and a psychic? Or, tarot is a tool to use. So can you talk about that a little bit? There's some people who don't use tarot. There's
Hmm.
astrologers that don't use tarot or don't use different tools other than, astrology itself. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Well, with astrology, I'm fascinated with astrology. I was not before,
Yeah.
until I realized I had a birth chart and there's, all these different aspects to it. And once I
Yeah.
realized that, that was it. I was hooked. I learned a lot about myself through astrology, as well as the Enneagram, as well as the Myers-Briggs. There's so many different avenues to learn about yourself. I've learned about myself a lot through tarot. Like
Hmm.
there's so many different ways to learn about yourself. I feel like with intuitives and psychics, intuitives can feel more energy, and there's a sensitivity that they have, and then
Hmm.
psychics are more like they can predict,
Hmm.
is what I feel the difference is.
Yeah.
I can be wrong, but that's how
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah.
um I use tarot specifically because sometimes I have a lot on my mind and I know that this helps me shut off. Once
Yeah.
I'm shuffling, I am so in tune with my cards that it's the way that I use to communicate what spirit has to tell me, what the universe has to say,
Yeah.
what anyone I'm communicating with on the other side has to say. Because I can communicate with people who have passed, and they'll
Yeah.
show me, and they want to communicate, they want to express themselves a lot of the time. So it's just different. I know that, like seeing, I was watching something earlier about the Long Island medium. I wish I
Yes.
could do that,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. But I'm not there yet. I don't know if that takes more practice or if it just comes along with more with more experience or what. But the way I do things, I don't really see other people doing things the way I
Yeah.
do things either. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of tarot readers, but I've noticed a lot of tarot readers will take the meaning of the card and just regurgitate it
Right.
over and over. And a lot of times it's not just about the meanings of the cards, it's about how you feel when you deal with it.
Yeah.
I'll deal my cards out, I'll get a stomach ache,
Mm.
I'll get pain in my arm,
Yeah.
I'll get different kind of sensations in my body that let me read the cards better. And that's the way it works for me. I
Interesting.
am
Yeah.
sure that a lot of the psychics and mediums out there, they have their own spin on how they do things.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's interesting you said Long Island Medium. This is so bad. I can't remember the guy's name, but he has a Netflix show and he's a medium. I
Tyler
can't, you know who I'm
Henry.
talking about. And
Tyler Henry.
yes, yes, yes. So fascinating. And
I know.
I've always been curious, like, can they shut it off? Is it something that like only happens when you seek it out? Or like, I'm so curious about that. Like,
So when I started my tarot journey and I started doing, like, I started converting over from like a regular job over to what I'm doing now. At first, I was still having this mindset of my religion. So I kind of had a mental breakdown.
mhm,
I want to say mental breakdown slash spiritual awakening, because
yes.
in order to have a spiritual awakening, you have to have a mental breakdown. All these preconceived notions of what is right and wrong have to break down literally in your brain for you to be able to accept what's happening to you and accept
Mhm,
that you're able to feel stuff and see stuff.
right.
So in my personal experience at that time, I felt like I could not shut it off, and I felt like I was going a little bit crazy. I was feeling a lot of things, I was hearing things. I remember one night waking my kids up at around 3 in the morning. Do you hear that? Do you hear all that talking? Do you hear it? And my son was like, no, go to
Go back to
bed.
sleep.
He's
Yeah.
like, mommy. And I'm like, you don't hear that? You don't hear those footsteps on the stairs when there's nobody here? Like, it's just us in our rooms. You don't hear that? And later on, he started to hear it. But
Interesting.
at that time, I was overwhelmed with
Yeah.
what I was going through, and I was in a place where I couldn't shut it off.
Hmm.
And it made me very scared and nervous to leave my house, to do anything in my regular life. I was kind of freaking out.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until I learned how to kind of shut that off and focus on me. I at
Hmm.
that it was a long process, but to make it a long story short, it was about focusing on me. Okay, I know this is not me feeling this. I know this is something from the outside. Acknowledging it and then
Yeah.
kind of mentally having to block it,
Yeah.
mentally having to shut it off. There are times where I don't like big crowds anymore. Like I said, I was a flight attendant. I
Yeah.
can't see myself doing that anymore.
Yeah.
In any way do I want to be on a plane with over 140 people, and I don't want to be in an airport
Yeah.
hardly ever. I don't even like going to the mall.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm around a lot of people. And a lot of times I'll get this and get that and I'm like, ugh,
Ugh.
it's
Yeah.
time to go. It's
Yeah.
time to go. I can't feel myself. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Oh my gosh, online shopping, hallelujah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I leave. But it takes practice. It just takes practice to shut it off. It
Yeah.
does. It takes practice. And then you get so good at shutting it off that you'll have someone be like, "Oh, so you're a reader. So what are you feeling from me?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Nothing because I shut it off."
Right. Yeah.
Don't ask me that. Book an appointment.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Book an
I've
appointment.
worked very hard on building this shield.
Yeah. I can only imagine. And it's something that you said is so interesting because I feel like it's all about how we channel it, right? Like, so growing up as a kid, I prayed a lot and you would pray to saints or, like, oh, I lost something. So, or, actually my cat just had surgery and I found myself praying to Saint Francis, right? Like, oh, Saint Francis, please protect her and help
There is
me find
nothing
the right.
wrong with that.
And like feeling that peace. And as a child, especially like feeling that guidance. And I think that,
Hmm.
I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone, but, whether it's you're praying to a saint or whatever it is in your spirituality, you're connecting with something, right? And
Yes.
connecting with that energy. So it's interesting that there's this idea of, even within certain religions, like, this is fine, but that's evil, or like that's something we
Yes.
don't touch. So it's
Ah,
interesting that you had to go through that and break that down and understand it's something more than really we can understand, but channel, like, it's just interesting. Praying the rosary is like so meditative to me. And sometimes I will say when I can't go to sleep, I'll like start praying the rosary and I'm like out like
yeah,
that.
and there is nothing wrong with that either. There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong in praying to Jesus or
right.
praying to whoever you see as a figure to pray to. There's nothing wrong with that. And oftentimes religions will argue over who you can and cannot pray to. And at
Right.
the end of the day, you can pray to whoever you want. That
Right.
gives you that kind of peace because there are other energies on the other side waiting to help. You can
Yeah.
pray to your ancestors. You can pray to your family members that have passed. They're there to help you also.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that praying, that meditating, whatever you want to call it, it is good for you. It
Yeah.
is good for all of us to do it. We
Yeah.
should be doing it, to be honest.
Yeah. It's something you said about ancestors and tapping in, and I've heard this from friends who really feel that connection. I don't feel that. Like I don't, it's not that like I don't know. It's just interesting to me. Like, it's not like I feel like my family who's passed on isn't like, oh, forget her. But it's interesting that, like, I just don't feel any sort of connection whatsoever. Like, I wouldn't think initially to, oh, go talk to your grandfather or go talk to your, like, whomever. Is there a way that you would think, like, you can cultivate those relationships?
I believe that ancestors, I mean, this is my personal belief that ancestors and people in your family that pass and stick around for guidance, it's
Hmm.
because they feel you need it.
Interesting.
I feel
Oh,
like
so I'm
if they
just
don't
good.
feel you're good, girl, you are great where you're
No,
at. You don't need nobody.
you're like, she's a mess. We're going over here.
I really do feel that they gravitate more towards the people that are still here who need it more,
Yeah.
who need more guidance. So I felt a very strong presence from ancestors of mine.
Hmm.
I felt very strong presence from those people at other stages in my life
Hmm.
when I really needed it. Now, where I am more healed from things that I've went through, I don't feel it as much.
Yeah.
I don't, even though I'm a medium and I'm a psychic, so I should always feel them, right? No, because I feel like they are doing other things.
Yeah.
They are helping other people in my family that
Yeah.
might need it more than me, or trying to be there for their lineage,
Hmm.
you know? That's just the way I see it. And I
Interesting.
also
Yeah.
do believe in us coming back here as reincarnation. And
Yeah.
I didn't believe in that before.
Hmm.
I did not believe in that before.
Yeah.
Reincarnation, get out of my face with that. We live once, we die once, we go to heaven and hell. I believed all that stuff until this this happened to me, this spiritual awakening happened. And then during that experience, I did ayahuasca.
Hmm.
And that also helped me like open my eyes up to a whole nother side of the spiritual realm and healing myself. So
Hmm.
even that was a huge deal for me.
Yeah.
I do believe that they stick around mostly for helping people who are more lost,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah. The more I learn about reincarnation, the more intrigued I am about it. But also, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta do this again. Like this
I
is.
don't want to come
I'm
back
like,
here. Let me
learn
just
the
learn it
lessons.
all already.
Learn the lessons. But it's interesting as you were talking, I was reminded of so my grandfather, he was like so much fun and he died when I was pretty little. Like I think kindergarten or first grade, like somewhere in that time frame. And he always wore Old Spice. And like one of the things that was so fun that he would do is he would fly me from the living room into the back room for naps, right? It was just like so much fun. And I remember not only being held, but that smell of Old Spice cologne. And at really random times in my life, when I've been really
Hmm.
happy and no one's around, I smell it. And it's like, even if people are around, like no one wears that brand of Old Spice, but usually it's like when I'm alone. And it is funny because I almost feel like he's like, good for you. Like I'm here experiencing this with you, And
Absolutely.
it doesn't have
Absolutely.
any impact. It's not like he's like go left versus right. It's almost just like
Hmm.
a like, hey,
I'm
good,
here. Good
like,
job.
yeah,
I'm
and you're
whatever
doing,
happiness you feel, I'm
yeah,
feeling it with you. And a
yeah,
lot of times that is how they come through also.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
really, it's funny because I was like, I don't really connect. I was like, wait a minute, actually, that has happened a few times, and it's not often, but yeah, it is interesting. And I'm sort of like, I'm curious where he is, like not in a bad way, but I'm like, I wish I could be like, hey, where are you right now? Are you here
He's
on
like
Earth with me? Like, where are you?
he most likely is still on the other side if you
Yeah,
still kind of experience that.
yeah,
And probably not back here yet.
interesting. Yeah.
Probably not back here yet
Yeah.
is what I'm
I'm
gonna
also
say with that.
putting like I'm putting it out to the universe that if reincarnation is real, I'd really love to come back as like a duck at Disney World. I feel like they have a great life. It's like I'm hoping for that someday. Have you ever have you ever had a reading for someone that like shocked you or really surprised you, like off took you off guard?
Hmm. I think at the beginning of me starting up tarot again,
Hmm.
I did. I had a few readings where, like, I was reading a former friend of mine and he was seeing someone new, and we were just testing my
Yeah,
tarot.
yeah,
And he's like, "Oh, I'm dating this new person. Go ahead, tell me about him."
yeah,
And I said, "Okay, let's try."
yeah, yeah.
And I came out with a really specific story. And I
Hmm.
was like, okay. And I remember the story being this person was in a relationship. It was pretty bad. His partner took all his stuff, like robbed him. I'm seeing him like in an empty apartment. And remember, this is just at the top of my head with this new deck. I have a new
Yeah.
deck of cards at this point. I'm seeing him get help from a blonde woman I feel like this is a family member and this person is helping him get him back on his feet. And then he gets like a new job and he starts to do better. And my friend's jaw dropped. Exactly what I said. His former partner
Oh my gosh.
left his house like empty. Like he walked into an empty apartment, like something you would see on a sitcom.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I think of. I think of a sitcom. I don't think of that actually happening in real life. And that was when I was just starting to get back into tarot. So it kind of freaked me out. I was
yeah,
kind of like, oh my gosh, really? It
yeah,
happened like that?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
and it kind of well, that was right before my spiritual awakening. So I was like, "Ooh, should I be doing this? I don't know."
Right, right.
I was like, "Oh, it's kind of freaky." I
Yeah,
didn't expect to get it right.
yeah.
I was expecting it to be maybe ballpark, but
Hmm.
not so accurate. So yeah, that freaked me out a bit.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's interesting.
Hmm.
I like that you were freaked out by how good you were and how accurate
Yeah,
you were.
I
You're
was
like,
like, "Oh my
whoa.
gosh, really?" Oh, I was like, "This is cool," but ooey,
But
ooey, ooey.
also, yeah, yeah, yeah. Is there any card that you particularly like resonate with?
You know what? I resonate the most right now. I have my cards with me. I resonate the most with the Queen of Swords. I am a Gemini, and that is a
Mm,
Gemini card. But I'm going to show you the two cards that I've resonated with the most in the past. Queen of Swords now, and the Five of Pentacles in the past.
mm.
So, if I could find the Five of Pentacles, does it want to make an appearance? I wish I was the kind of psychic that could think of some lottery numbers
I know,
because
right?
I always get that. Do you have the lottery numbers? Yeah, if I did, I ain't giving them to you.
Yeah.
I'm playing
You
the
would not see
lottery.
me
I'm a
again.
human.
I
I'm
know,
human.
right?
I'm playing the lottery.
Exactly. I always
Uh,
I always forget to play the lottery until it's like
I,
$1 billion. And I'm like,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
the same. I don't even play the lottery, but my mom is always like, you should try.
you should do it.
I cannot find the Five of Pentacles. Here it
Oh,
is.
okay.
So in the past, I have resonated the most with the Five of Pentacles. So if you see
Hmm.
the Five of Pentacles here,
Yeah.
these two people are outside of the church and they feel left out.
Hmm.
But it's also feeling abandonment.
Hmm.
Five of Pentacles is also a card of being broke financially.
Hmm.
So, but the way I see this is abandonment.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of abandonment issues I did not know I had.
Hmm.
And abandonment issues, the way that they come out in a person is depending on the way you were brought up.
Hmm.
They could either come off as very deep narcissistic patterns or the opposite. It could come off as very needy and
Hmm.
very people pleasing and very attached.
Yeah.
And the Five of Pentacles resonated with me because I was like an anxiously attached
Yeah.
person, which
Yeah.
is something else I started learning about attachment styles and
Yeah.
avoidance, attachment, anxious attachment, secure attachment, and that this has a lot to do with that. The Five
Yeah.
of Pentacles is either or on the spectrum of attachment, and I resonated with that card a lot because I didn't know where my abandonment issues originally came from.
Hmm.
I do now, but I
Yeah.
didn't for a long time. And consciously, I couldn't put it together, which I think therapy is a huge way that people can kind of piece that together and they don't realize it.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we have abandonment issues and we gravitate towards the wrong people that perpetuate the same abandonment issues over and over again and just keep on showing us our abandonment issues, we don't realize that we're the ones with the issue and we're just attracting and wanting more of the same without actually wanting that experience. We keep on recreating it for ourselves.
Yep.
So for example, the Five of Pentacles, my abandonment issue was my father wasn't there to
Hmm.
raise me, but I never thought of that as an abandonment issue. He was gone by the time I was 1 years old,
Yeah.
so I didn't have him around to miss him. So I did not see an abandonment issue. I was raised with a lot of love from my mom and my grandmother, and the people in my family were always there for me. So
Hmm.
I didn't associate that with abandonment for me.
Right.
I didn't get it. So that was a big part of the way I was attracting
Hmm.
the people that I in my love life.
Yep.
the way that that would, and my mom also had a lot to play in that because she was abandoned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, she was a person who was a people pleaser to a certain extent, and the Enneagram that I had mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
it gives you a personality style and it shoots out a number at you. And I was a number 2 on that. And I was really fascinated with all the people pleasing aspects of that and how the abandonment really showed through in that number 2, that I had all my family take the test. I had my sister take it, my brother take it, my grandma took it, or not my grandmother, my mom took it. We were all 2s.
Wow.
We were all 2s.
Wow.
And I'm like, that is the definition of a generational curse.
100%.
Not something outside of us, not something outside of us haunting us, but
Yep.
top behavior that you're not even aware that you're teaching, your child, and so on and so on. And so I was taught to expect abandonment, that if I didn't want to be abandoned, I had to please the other person. I had to make sure they stayed, that I was valuable to them. I had to make myself be seen.
Yeah.
And that's the way I came across. And that's not a good way to come across. I didn't know that. That's the
Right.
only way I was taught. So that was a card that I resonated with the most. And seeing that aspect of myself, that was like ugly to watch.
Yeah.
It's never comfortable. Spend a lot of time crying over that. And oh my gosh, that's what I was coming across. That's not where my heart was. I didn't realize it. Now I associate myself with the Queen of Swords.
Hmm.
So the Queen of Swords is very logical. And if you see the card, she is above the clouds. So
Yeah.
she has a clarity to her. And so the clarity is there, and the knife or the sword is there to cut through.
Mm-hmm.
To cut through. So I call out things that I see now where I used to not call things out. So if I am in a relationship with someone, or if I am dating someone to a certain extent and I see patterns, I'm
Yes.
calling those patterns out
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting on that. As with abandonment issues, I'm like, well, maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe that'll change. Maybe this is just in my head because I've been through so much.
Yeah.
Now it's like,
Nope.
what's going on here? What is this? Yeah, I'm not interested in that. No,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
No, thanks. So these are the 2.
I love that. I love that
These
you
are the
went
2.
through that progression, right? And I think,
Yeah,
I very much, I relate to the people pleasing number 2, 5 of Pentacles, however you want to say it. And it is ugly to confront that in yourself. And
oh,
like, the aha moment for me was like, you're so afraid of abandonment, that you're abandoning yourself. And I was like, oh my
absolutely.
God, like, and that's hard, right? And I was like, no, I'm not. And then I was like, oh yeah, I am. But
No, you're not, because you're successful,
right.
because
Yep.
you live a good life, because
Yep.
you have your career together,
Yep.
and at that time, me being a single mom, I'm a single mom, I'm doing things. Look at me. I'm a
Yeah.
flight attendant. I have
Yeah.
this great career.
Yeah.
I got my finances together and this together. Of course I get my nails done.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I take care of myself,
Yeah.
I have a nice haircut or whatever. That's what we associate with taking care of ourselves and not abandoning ourselves. But then we, as a 5 of Pentacles, there's certain experiences you want to have in life that you're waiting for a partner to have those experiences with.
Yep.
You're waiting for a partner. You're waiting for someone to join you before you start embarking on this trip that you've always wanted to take,
Right.
but you don't want to do it alone. You don't want to do that alone. You don't want to do X, Y, and Z alone. You want to wait for someone else.
Yep.
And that's a big part of abandonment, is
Right.
waiting for having to have someone do these things with you, experience these joys with you, instead of you doing it on your own.
Yeah.
And abandonment attracts abandonment.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Abandonment attracts, I've attracted men that they're not only do they abandon, but they have their own abandonment issues within themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, just think of it this way: sad does not attract happy.
Correct. Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. I mean, if you're in a bad place and you attract this magnificent person, question that.
Correct.
What
Yeah.
are your motives? Because I'm miserable.
Right. Yeah.
I don't understand why you're here.
Right.
That's something to look at.
Yeah.
It's abandonment attracts abandonment. So always have to be careful with why there's a certain person in your life at a certain time in your life, you
It's
know?
also interesting because I feel like society rewards, I don't want to say bad behavior, but some of these traumas, right? I was super successful in my career, and when you think about it from an abandonment standpoint, it wasn't because it was my passion, it wasn't because I was, following my dreams, that it was, oh, I'm really good at this, let me get to the next, let me get to the next, let me get, because I was getting that validation. And again,
Hmm.
it was like, it's like these things that you're like, oh, wait, like I didn't see it that way for so long. And like you said, someone coming in to your life and love bombing you, and you're like, oh, finally, it's that Disney princess and prince, and you're gonna be saved. And it's like, girl, you don't need to be saved. Like you're gonna
Hmm.
save
Hmm.
yourself. Like, but we romanticize that. And it's really interesting how it's reinforced throughout society, and that
Absolutely.
fear is reinforced too.
Absolutely, that romanticizing type of thing, like you said, like in the movies and on TV shows
Yeah.
where, you're down and out and somebody saves you, which, in reality, it's not like that.
No.
Very, and if it is, it's very, I haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
I can't say it's never happened. I can
Sure.
say I have never experienced it or know anyone that has attracted their life partner through being at their most miserable state
Hmm.
ever.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times we want love and we want this and we're not even willing to love ourselves.
Yeah.
So many times that I've been in relationships where and I'm a Latina,
Hmm.
so we're raised a specific way too, that we should be the ones cooking and cleaning
Hmm.
and providing all this support to our man and support to our family, and you're still abandoned. But anyways,
Yeah.
being raised in that type of an environment where you're supposed to give, 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 but then also being shown that, your husband might cheat and it's up to you to forgive them.
Right.
And it's up to you to forgive them, because then if not, the family breaks apart. How is that up to me to do?
Right.
Why isn't any of the responsibility being placed on that other person?
Yeah.
And it's all about the other person just providing.
Yeah.
In an abandonment situation, I just realized that I ended up attracting people who couldn't do for themselves because I was doing everything for them. And I was happy to do it
Yeah.
without any basis to it, just because I was raised that way.
Yep.
Happy to do it, happy to be the one doing the cleaning, the cooking, happy to do this and that. And then I started, actually, I wasn't happy with that. A lot of that started breaking away, especially with me working.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be the one cooking and cleaning and all this, why am I working?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing double
What's going
time.
on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why aren't you cooking and cleaning?
Right.
What's going on here?
Right.
I'm working like you're working and possibly more than you're working. So it created a lot of friction in my relationships in the past. Just
Yeah.
the mindset of I got to do so much
Yeah.
and it not being reciprocated.
Yeah. And being okay with that. That's a whole other podcast we could have. I've got a lot of thoughts on
Yeah, being okay with it
that.
for
And
so long.
yeah, I know. It's wild when you start again taking a step back and looking, and you're like, whoa, what is going on here? You're like, I'm
Hmm.
living this life, and I wasn't even realizing that I was, like living.
I did not realize it. I did not realize it.
Yeah,
No, I didn't. I really thought I was doing we all think we're doing
of
the
course.
best we can. So even that other person, and this is why people don't change. And I say don't change, and with those quotation marks, because people do change, but they change because they hit a wall,
Yeah,
not because you want them to hit a wall, because they hit a wall. I changed because I I got to a point in my life where I figured out what am I doing wrong
yeah,
that I keep attracting this situation? I keep attracting this type of love environment, this type of friendship circle. What is wrong with me? That's when I started to have the mental breakdown and started to realize different things in my life. And they were all systems that I set up for myself, for my ego to feel safe.
yep,
They were not really there. They weren't real. They were
mm-hmm,
just temporary. And
yep,
it wasn't until then. But prior to that, if a guy had told me that I had all these issues, I would have told him to F off.
Right. How
And
dare
you
you?
don't know the prize in front of you, buddy. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
You don't know what you're missing because I got my shit together.
Yeah. Look at my nails.
Look at
Um,
my nails, look at
yeah,
my hair, look at where I live and my job title.
yeah,
That's what I would have
exactly.
said. It wasn't until I was ready to address things within myself that I realized I did not have it together and I was abandoning myself
Yeah.
in so many different situations. And a lot of people will be in relationships with someone who is stuck
Hmm.
and they're not stuck anymore. And it's one of those, what do I do? I'm sorry to say you're not a vibrational match.
Yeah.
You got to remove yourself because that person will remain stuck if all you do is take care of them.
Yep.
They need to grow on their own.
Yep. And if nothing changes, are you okay with that? Truly, are you okay with it? And sometimes I guess the answer is yes, but
But
it
then there is that real true healing for you.
is that true
Because if
healing
you're
for
okay with
you? Yep.
settling, if you're okay with settling with somebody else and living in their trauma after healing your own, how much of your own trauma did you heal?
Yeah.
Because I for sure did not do all that work to be with somebody who has done no
No
inner
work.
work.
Yeah, 100%.
And then I have to see you be miserable at your job,
Yeah.
see you be miserable in your family dynamics, see you
Right.
be miserable with your friends and with your life. And now I'm stuck there feeling your misery. As much as I may love you, I didn't work so hard for that. So
No.
it is like you gotta see where your relationships lie once you do have some kind of awakening, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be no big traumatic spiritual awakening.
No.
Now you're all
Yeah.
of a sudden a tarot reader. None
Right.
of that. It doesn't have
Right.
to be that extreme. But your spiritual awakening means that you're waking up to your purpose and what it is you're
Mhm.
supposed to be doing. And naturally, people around you start to fall off
Yeah,
because they're
absolutely.
not doing that inner work. And you don't vibrationally match with these people anymore.
Yep. Yep.
And it doesn't mean it has to be horrible, but a lot of the times it's very painful because these are people you have attachments to and you have to let go of those attachments.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm a mom too. And I think one of the hardest things about being a parent is letting your kids fail. And they need to, and letting them learn things on their own. You can't do everything for them. Otherwise, they're going to go out in the world and need you when they're an adult. They should be
Yeah,
doing their own path. And it's the same
absolutely.
thing in whether it's romantic relationships or friendships. Like people have to go on that journey. Like they have to do the work. We can't do it for them. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
It is tough. In my healing, especially being a parent, in my healing, I've also realized that there's a lot of things that I did out of habit from the way
Hmm.
I was raised with my
Yep.
children.
Yep.
And well, my children took that Enneagram and they weren't twos,
Ah, there you go.
but everyone has some trauma to
Of
them.
course.
So, for example, my son's a 7.
Okay.
So I started learning about sevens and I felt so bad because I'm like a 7 for a 7, it's not really abandonment like that. It's more of keeping yourself entertained because the people around you are busy. And I
Mm,
felt like, oh, my life was so
shoot. Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
I was so busy
Yeah.
that I wasn't there as much as I needed to be. And that hit me hard because you
Yeah.
don't want to be there. You don't want to do that to your kids on
Sure.
purpose. But then you see that and you try to adjust.
Yeah.
So it's about self accountability in that respect too. It's not parenting is never ends. I don't care how old your kids
It
are.
never ends. Yeah.
Parenting never ends. You're always learning. And with your kids, they could teach you a few
A
things.
hundred
They have
percent.
different perspectives on the world. Ooh, I'm getting teary eyed. That's
Yeah.
okay. I always do.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way, and it's also turning that what we see as a negative into a superpower, right? Like it's
Absolutely.
and I learned so much from my kids. I know this sounds really stupid. Like obviously I love my kids, but I just like my kids. Like I like being
Yeah.
around them and I
Me
learned
too.
so much and it's
Me
awesome.
too.
And I'm like, look, what you said about accountability, if at any point in their life they need to talk about something that's uncomfortable between the two of us, hey, I'm open, right? Like I'm not perfect. I'm doing the best I can. And we again, like you with lottery numbers, if I had all the parenting answers, write
Yeah.
a book and share it with everybody. So we're all doing the best we can. Is there anything we talked about so much? Thank you for sharing all of this. Like, is there anything we
Absolutely.
didn't talk about today that you wanted to make sure people knew or understood?
You know what? I did want to touch on I did have an ayahuasca experience, and the
Yeah.
reason that I feel like this is important is because with that experience, it opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Hmm.
When I did that, it was out of like a desperate attempt to get answers for what was going on in my life at the moment.
Yeah.
And I had done my own research on what ayahuasca is and how effective it would be. It's not really legal in the US. I had to go out of the country to
Hmm.
experience this, but in my experience, it had unlocked some traumatic memories from my childhood that I didn't know were there.
Mm.
And I was able to address those things as an adult, which made a huge difference. But it was like 10 years of therapy in a week.
Wow.
Therapy will get you there.
Hmm.
So, in that experience, if I want to say a lot of clients that I have and just people I know in general, even myself, if there's patterns that you're stuck in or a specific relationship like an ex-wife, ex-husband, uh, really narcissistic situation you went through that you can't get over, a lot of times it's not that specific situation, it's something from your childhood. A lot of time, that whole thing got kicked off with an ex-boyfriend I had. It wasn't about him at all.
No. Yeah.
It wasn't about him at all. It was about my experience as a child and how I kept perpetuating the
Yeah.
same thing. And
Yeah.
so if you feel stuck in life, you got to go back to your childhood. Between
Hmm.
the ages of 0 and 7, we're sponges.
Hmm.
And a lot of times little kids are in situations, they don't know. They're little, they don't know. Yes, they know. They are literally a sponge recording every situation, every argument that you may have within your home, every little thing, and they're kids. So for
Hmm.
them, this is huge.
Yeah.
This is huge for a child. These little arguments, these little spats you're going through now, they're seeing that and picking that up as normal.
Yep.
There's things that, and you're teaching them how to pick love in the future, that if it doesn't have this, it must not be love. If it doesn't have this toxicity, it must not be love.
Right.
So not only be aware of where children are at these times in your life when you have little ones,
Yep.
but also if you're stuck in life and you feel like you can't get past a certain situation, talk to someone who specializes in childhood trauma.
Hmm.
That is a huge starting point, because that relationship with your mom, with your dad, or with your caretaker of whoever they were,
Yeah.
um that's what shows how you connect to people,
Yep.
period.
Yep.
How you
Yep.
connect to people in your adult life, and why you've had those experiences. That could be all, that's the reason. It's the childhood stuff that you
Yeah.
experience is why you're connecting to these people as adults. It's not the adults that you just connected with specifically. I mean, in certain abusive relationships, yeah, that could be
Sure.
the issue,
Sure.
but mainly it goes back to your childhood. Even
Yes.
connecting with abusers as an adult. Why did I let myself be in that abusive relationship for so long?
Hmm.
Maybe you weren't seen as a child. Maybe you weren't seen, and this abuser gave you the attention and validation you needed just enough to get
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It's all about connecting those dots so that you can actually get moving, get
Right.
your life moving,
Get it moving. Forgive
get it
yourself.
moving.
And,
Absolutely.
it's one of those things, and it's still a journey for me, but I often say, like, is little Megan in control right now? Or is adult Megan in control right now? And taking that is like, oh, wait a minute, like that's coming out of, like you said, something from a long time ago that I don't even remember, that like you're just processing through it and understanding those patterns. Um, Ayahuasca is another, oh my gosh, that's like a whole other podcast as well. And I think it's a nice way to tie in. There's so many different ways. And so if people have gotten this far in the conversation, I think they're open to it. But being open to understanding and different tools and resources and thoughts and
Hmm.
spirituality and things like that, there's so many different ways to get to what we need in life and
Oh, yeah.
discovering
You don't have
ourselves.
to do ayahuasca.
No, yeah, but also
You
being open to
can.
like understanding that there are different ways to do this, and it worked for
So
you.
many different ways.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of therapy for everybody, and it even goes back to what we were talking about with religion. There's different avenues of spirituality. I always joke, and I don't want to offend any Catholics who might be listening, but I have to laugh. Like, I love the Catholic Church. I love the pomp and circumstance. I love the rituals. And I'm like, yeah, so it's a bunch of people chanting the same thing at the same time, and there's fire and there's bells, and I'm like, that sounds like something, right? So like
Sounds like a
we all have
ritual,
our
yeah.
different we all have our different ways of going about it. And there's something for me that just like when I walk into a cathedral, it's like, whew, like it feels like coming home in a different sort of way. And just being open to learning about different things and exploring that. So I love that you mentioned that. So I ask everybody these three questions. So the first one is, what advice would you give to your younger self, knowing what you know now? And that could be in any sort of way.
The advice I would have given to my younger self was know your worth.
Yeah.
Know your worth. Because as my younger self, I didn't know my worth. And I very much thought I did. And I put my worth into more of the things that were around me, more into what I could accomplish versus my health, versus my inner emotional health, things that I found to be, better for me in an emotional way, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in how much you make and what you can provide, and how, oh well, at least I'm a good provider, you see, I have all my stuff like I was saying earlier, I got all my stuff together, so I must be okay. But I didn't check in with myself. I was unhappy. Even the circle of friends that I was in, I was unhappy. I didn't have any real support to improve.
Mhm.
It was just, you're good where you're at, so we're going to be here good with you. But nobody called me out on any things that I was doing that wasn't good for me, or that when I hurt someone, nobody really did anything about it or told me that I was wrong. And it's all about self-love.
Mhm.
Self-love gives love.
Yep.
So the moment you start to value yourself as a person, have more morals for yourself, have values for yourself, you kind of give that out to others also. You stop you stop abusing other people, because just because I was a person with abandonment issues doesn't mean I didn't hurt people in my way. I absolutely did. Abandonment issues hurt either way.
Yep.
So in my abandonment issues, I hurt other people also, and it has to be that accountability. So self-worth is really important. I would tell myself, younger self, not to be afraid of failure, not to be afraid of changing, and of losing people around me. That too. Don't be afraid of losing people around you, people that you have attachment to. There is a season for these people in your life.
Yeah.
And when you grow and they don't grow, you don't match no more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah. And what do you
Mm-hmm.
like most about what you're doing now?
What I love about doing tarot and mediumship is that I get to see the inside of a situation with my cards. A lot of times people don't want to share the inside information, and that's fine. That's why I have the cards, so I can see it.
Hmm.
But I believe tarot is a tool for guidance, and for you kind of to shine a light on your subconscious so that you could change your patterns. I don't think tarot, and I'm not trying to hurt my business in saying this,
Sure.
but I don't think you should be going to a tarot reader every little while.
Yeah.
Every time something happens, you don't need to run to a tarot reader to get a reading. You need to have guidance that your intuition is also kicking in.
Hmm.
So it's about helping whoever I'm reading for know that they're on the right path and that they're doing the right thing. Or if they're not on the right path, trying to get them to the right path so
Yeah.
that they can have their own inner guidance take the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I like the most about my job, is
Yeah.
trying to get you to know where you're headed without needing me all the time.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to just get you back every little while.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Which
I
is
mean,
why
I
you're
love
good
the
at what you
business,
do.
but you gotta take the wheel. You gotta know that it is fate is what you make of it.
Yeah.
Fate is your free will. These things aren't just magically happening to you.
Right.
You have an active part in that.
Right.
So I love that part about my job.
That's very cool. And then how can people find you?
You can find me on my website, which is divinefamilytarot.com, and I am on TikTok also as Divine Family Tarot. And that's the two main places. I also have a YouTube channel where it's Divine Family Tarot LLC.
Hmm.
On Instagram, it's Divine Family Tarot LLC.
Hmm.
But on TikTok, it's without the LLC at the
Gotcha.
end. It's just
Yeah.
Divine Family Tarot. So that's where you can find me.
Nice. Awesome. Everybody should check Jenny out. She's amazing. Thank you for sharing
Thank
so
you
much
so
with us
much.
and something that's so personal. So I really appreciate it. This has been awesome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
Great. All right. Let me pause.